Good evening, and welcome to e-Governance for e-Government, negotiating information governance challenges for today's complicated e-government applications. So traditionally, citizens need to travel sometimes hundreds of miles just to receive basic civic services such as obtaining birth certificates and marriage licenses. However, since the late 1990s, governments the world over have increasingly used computers and the internet to deliver services to citizens. Simply put, this electronic government, or e-government, changed the dynamic between citizen and government. In many cases, citizens. So an overview for our presentation. First, I will look at some definitions. Next, I will examine some processes related with e-governance, and I will buttress this with a timely case study, and then I will conclude with some strategies for implementing e-governance in context. So what is e-government? Well, the E-Government Act of 2002 in the United States states e-government means the use by the government of web-based internet applications and other information technologies combined with processes that implement these technologies. Next, what is e-governance? We can't really state what e-governance is without stating what information governance is. So Klein states information governance is the set of activities aimed at establishing a normative foundation to facilitate and stimulate sense-making interactions. And then we move on to e-governance. Bannister and Connolly, 2012, defined e-governance as the use of ECTs in government in ways that lead to genuinely different structures or processes, a consequence of which may be the greater effectuation of or changes in norms and public values. Keep in mind the norms and public values for our conclusion, which is key. Um, Also keep in mind that the e-governance and information governance includes processes, and this is crucial in an electronic environment because a lot of the processes are automated. And like I said earlier, we can't really put into context what e-governance is without looking at the overall information governance umbrella. And you'll notice in my diagram here I have electronic governance, and then information communication technology, which is ICT, and the databases or the hubs that store the records. At the bottom here I have e-government, which is the overall structure, and I've put statutory requirements and mandates in the middle because these processes have to negotiate through the laws and mandates. So this is a case study that's about the recent rollout of the Affordable Health Care Act, and I've listed 3 challenges here. Multiple contractors were tasked to design and implement individual modules of the overall electronic system, and multiple databases are used with secure pipelines between them, and mandates from various federal agencies and laws are spread out over multiple government agencies. As you'll notice, this 3-point list sort of mirrors the previous slide with the information governance umbrella. And on this next slide I have some, just to reiterate the challenges, and this is sort of a generic thing that applies to all information governance and e-governance architectures. So one of the main things is effective and stable public access to information through ICTs, and that is the information communication technologies that facilitate communication not only interagency but between the public and the government, and that's sort of a hallmark of electronic government. And then some of the internal processes that have to be governed are the secure data sharing throughout all e-government processes. Again, I'm sort of restating this, but it's really crucial to the overall big equation. And then finally, governments need to measure their e-government processes, which in the long term becomes part of the e-governance process. So in conclusion, I just wanted to highlight a white paper I found that actually lists 10 stages for implementing an effective e-governance architecture. You notice the first stage is public awareness and commitment of stakeholders, much like what a records manager would do in developing an electronic records management system. So too must stage 2 here in conceptualizing what the overall capacity would be. And then that leads into stage 3 and stage 4. And stage 5 is where you start to integrate the mandates and the laws, and stage 6 would be the testing and the rollout of individual modules to see how they fit into the big picture. And then with any benchmarking process, you have to evaluate what your test projects did. And then you have to, for stage 8 and 9, you have to put it into a bigger picture. And then stage 10 is a public outreach or popularizing e-governance so it fits in with a public's view of e-governance. Much like most of the models that record keepers deal with, this aligns pretty accurately, and I would suggest anyone that wants to implement an e-governance strategy at least review these 10 stages, and I've listed a link to this white paper in the resources. And that concludes my presentation. Have a good night.